Right, well, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining me this morning for our LeadSquared Product Training 101. We're going to be running this training session over a 4-part series, and like I said, we'll be sharing these links with you after the actual product training has completed. So I wanted to start off by just giving you an idea of essentially what LeadSquared is. So basically what we do with LeadSquared is we use this powerful software platform to assist our clients and businesses in Africa to automate key processes in their business. And the reason why we do that is because every single business needs to, generate leads and make more sales. And what's really important is during this process is that we just help our clients achieving more efficiencies in the entire process, from the point of lead generation through to retaining customers. And one of the things that are really important to the LeadSquared team is to make sure that we deliver a really customized sales and marketing solution to our customers. So what I'm trying to say is that LeadSquared, and what I'm going to show you today, is everything that we cover is kind of out of the box. However, when we onboard a customer, what's really essential and the cornerstone to your success using LeadSquared is essentially the implementation process that our team takes you through to make sure that this product actually works for you guys. And I'm going to share some information with you, and maybe some of you are not aware of this, but LeadSquared has been in business, since 2013, and we've been incredibly, blessed to partner with the LeadSquared global team to bring LeadSquared to our South African clients. So, our vision over the next couple of years is really to become the trusted sales and marketing automation partner to our clients in South Africa. Just want to confirm that you can see the slide in front of you that's got a HubSpot logo on it. Okay, good stuff. So to put this into perspective for you, and a lot of companies in South Africa are not aware of this, and that's why I just want to take the opportunity to share this with you, is that we did not create and develop LeadSquared here locally. LeadSquared is a company that started by a bunch of incredibly talented people in Bangalore in India. And at this moment in time, they have presence globally. But when we are, competing in the world of what we call SaaS, or sales and marketing automation software, LeadSquared is up there with the likes of HubSpot and companies like Salesforce. Now, many of you, in previous companies you work for and current companies you work for may have heard of these companies like the likes of Salesforce and HubSpot. So LeadSquared is a premium-based product, and we compete up there with the top 3 globally. Now, to put this into perspective for you is that, once again, we've been incredibly lucky to be able to put together, let's call it LeadSquared packages for our South African clients. Why do I say that? Well, I don't have to go into too much detail when we talk about exchange rates, but if you are to subscribe to a product today in US dollars, this basically makes it actually impossible for most small and medium enterprises, even big businesses, to actually subscribe to these premium-based products. So we're the only platform that's been able to provide pricing that is affordable for any kind of company to use, whether it's a one-man business, which we would refer to as a solopreneur, right through to an enterprise-based company. To put this into perspective for you, is if you go and have a look at our enterprise plan, which is what we call module 3, And that basically gives you, you know, the CRM, the marketing, the marketing automation, the sales execution, and then the ability to service your customers. And our premium plan gives you space to actually host up to 500,000 contacts. That's a lot of contacts. So we're talking 500,000 contacts in your profile. Our pricing for that module on LeadSquared is 1,399 Rand a month per user. If you were to use another product that's available on the market, and I'm just using this one as an example because that's the space that LeadSquared plays in, is that if you have a look here, if you were to use 500,000 contacts and you know, have 10 users using your program, you'd be looking at a subscription of $7,875,000 per month. Okay, that's I mean, multiply that by the exchange rate, and I think I don't have to go any further, but to say I don't know how many of you could afford that, you know, every month. It just becomes really impossible. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that if you have a look at most of these what we call sales and marketing automation platforms, you will notice on the right-hand side of that slide, it says there is an estimated cost to get started, and you're looking at an implementation fee of $106,000. So we're talking about a lot of money. And essentially, that's why I just wanted to mention to you guys that we're really, really incredibly blessed to have been able to put together pricing that works for South African clients. So the next thing that's important to mention is that, you know, we've invited you as LeadSquared subscribers today to this training, but we've also invited, you know, some of you who actually just want to check it out and kind of get a feel for what LeadSquared is before you make that decision. If you are going to explore LeadSquared, then make sure you use the local site, leadsquared.coza, because if you do that and you go and have a look at the pricing, you will see that the pricing has been tailor-made for South Africa. And our pricing essentially starts, module 1 is 899 Rand a month for a user. We've got module 2, which is 1,099 Rand a user, and then we've got our enterprise module, which is 1,399 per user. So take a look at that and just make sure that you know, you're using the local site, because we don't want you to be you know, paying in dollars where you can be paying in our South African rands. So that's just to invite you to take a look at our website. And really importantly, you will also find our social media handles on our site. So follow us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, because we do share a number of resources and content with you that will certainly help you understand the power behind sales and marketing automation. All right. From a LeadSquared perspective, LeadSquared has been in business for just over 8 years now. We're actually almost heading for 9 years across the globe. We have 350 plus employees. We currently service over 1,000 customers across the world and 100,000 users in those organizations. We have around 50,000 people that use the LeadSquared mobile application, which is growing by the day, and we'll cover that in our training as well. And so we're really, really incredibly blessed once again to say that, you know, we have a really, really talented local team, but we are supported by a global team of SaaS experts, really, really, you know, experienced, talented people. So this is the team that we work with to make sure that if there is a problem that you want to solve in your organization, that we basically brainstorm and build and put together solutions that enable you to achieve what you want to achieve. Our leadership team, as you can see over there, you're not going to remember all the names, but I thought I'd just show you some of the faces. But on the, you know, on the guys in the South African shirts are our let's call it the founders, co-founders of LeadSquared, and the guys on the white shirts, are, so we've got Ian Banner, who's our chairman of our board, and on the far right-hand side, we have Graham Patterson. He's the guy who crunches all the numbers. So really, really great team that we get to work with. And I just thought it would be a good idea to actually just introduce you to some of the faces. These are, this is our local team. So, from the left, obviously you guys are speaking to me right now. You guys would deal with people like Adrian. So, what I'm going to cover with you in this 4-part series is that we've got a local team that is able to give you support and assistance. So whether it's to do with designing landing pages, emails, automating your campaigns for you, implementing the solutions, you've got a team that's available to assist you from start to end. So this is our local team. And we're in the process of obviously growing that team as well. So I think the first thing to kind of start off with is that today we're starting with a LeadSquared overview. And I think that what's really important, and a lot of people kind of overlook this, but I want to make sure that we all understand and get let's call it the right terminology. So when we talk about a lead, some of you might, you've heard terms like a hot lead or a qualified lead or a contact. Now, a lead basically is somebody who's potentially interested in what your product or service offering is. And a lead can be a cold lead, somebody who's literally just showing some interest in your product, but it also could be a qualified lead. So somebody who's, and some of you might refer to it as a prospect, where the person's kind of like put up their hand to say, I want to buy, whatever it is that you're selling. Now, a lead, as you know, can also be an individual person, so a consumer, and it could be a company as well. So, in South Africa, we talk about things like B2C, which is business to consumer, or B2B, business to business. So irrespective of the business you are in, I just want to make sure that you understand that a lead is somebody who is interested in the product or service that you are offering. And if you have a look at leads, there's different kinds of people who would show interest in your products. And, all of these people have got, let me call it, the possibility of becoming a customer, but some of them are going to have a higher propensity or probability to become a customer, and some of them will be better suited to certain products or services that you offer. So as an example, if you have, let's say you're selling sports bicycles, you probably have a higher chance of people between the age of 20 and 30 buying, a sports bike. And I'm not going to get in trouble with, calling anybody or saying anybody that over the age of 40 doesn't ride a bike. I'm just using this as an example, so don't throw anything at me today. Okay. So it's just around understanding who's better set, and we call that in the world of sales and marketing personas. Okay, and some of you might be familiar with these terms, but basically, it's important that you just understand the concept of what a lead is. The next thing is that when we are working inside LeadSquared, you're going to come across many times where we refer to leads, activities, tasks, and users. And we've covered leads, all right? So we know that that is a potential customer that's interested in your product, and we can never have enough of those. The next thing is that when we talk about activity, an activity is something where there's an action point or step that's been taken. So in this example, it could be that you've got a lead that is in your LeadSquared profile that actually clicked on one of the links that were embedded in one of your emails. So somebody took some kind of action, okay? And a task, many of you that are in the business of sales will know that that is something that needs to be fulfilled in order to have an activity completed. So in other words, if you are dealing with a lead, Sometimes, you know, if you think about your sales funnel, you might have to set up a reminder, all right, which we refer to as a task, to call a lead at 3:30 p.m. on Monday. And this is so critical in the world of sales and marketing. And as you know, if you don't do the right activities, all right, or follow up on your tasks, all you are doing is putting yourself at risk of losing the opportunity to close that lead or convert that lead to a potential paying customer. All right. And then users, when we talk about users, these are people like yourselves that are using LeadSquared, and all of you have got different use cases for LeadSquared. So when we talk about users, we're talking about an administrator user, a sales manager user, a sales user, and a marketing user. So it's different roles that come with different permissions, which we will cover in more detail. Right, the next thing that I want you to understand is in the world of marketing and sales. So I just want to stop and just check some questions. Yeah, guys, I will share the recording with you, and just a reminder to please keep yourselves on mute. All right, because we are picking up some background noise. So please just keep yourselves on mute. Right. So when we talk about the two strategies of sales, and some of this terminology will be familiar, but I want to just make sure that we understand so that you understand what's relevant and what the right sales strategy is for your company. So in sales, we talk about there's two main sales strategies, and the one is what we call the traditional sales funnel strategy, and the other one is what we call the life cycle marketing. And if we just move across to the sales funnel, this is something that's kind of been around for a long time, and most people that we deal with today follow this typical sales funnel approach. However, there is a very strong movement for people to move into what we call the life cycle marketing, because consumers have kind of started demanding a better experience from brands. And I think all I want to leave you with is the thought for you to just make sure that you are applying the right sales strategy in your organization. So when we look at the sales funnel approach, you have typically if you have a look at the funnel, obviously it's much wider at the top where we're at the awareness phase. And really what the sales funnel is showing you is you've got a little image of a magnet there. And the whole approach is really to use a magnet or a hook, all right, to essentially find as many leads as possible and make them aware of your brand. And then what happens is you want to get those people to like bite, you know, it's if you think about fishing, you know, getting that fish to bite. And once they're bitten and they're on your rod, they now become a part of your sales funnel. So the more people we get into the top of the funnel has always been, you know, the best approach. And obviously it's about finding the right lead or customer personas. And then what you want to do is move them down that funnel. So essentially, it's basically creating content and moving people from awareness to a point where they become interested in what you're offering, and then probing them or convincing them to take some kind of action to make a decision to then buy your product or service. All right, and right at the bottom at that funnel, you'll see once somebody's taken action, they become a customer that then essentially starts generating revenue for you. So that's the one sales strategy, which we call the sales funnel. And the next one is life cycle marketing. And this is something that that a lot of brands are moving towards. And I want you to think about it because it's really premised on the basis that it's all around improving customer service within your brand. And what it does is it enables you, through all the data points and information you gather, it enables you as a business to start uncovering new ways to improve your customer experience. And the intention behind lifecycle marketing is rather to create long-term relationships with customers to keep them coming back, and basically enabling you to generate more revenue from a customer and more engagement. And remember, when you've got a loyal customer or somebody that's really connected to your brand, that is where you start moving into that space of referrals and repeat business. And that really, when you're in the business of sales, you will know when you get a referral or you're getting repeat business from a customer, you know you're doing something well, and that is the best kind of business that you can, kind of lead you can receive. So just overall, this lifecycle marketing framework is really there to inspire lead conversion based on the customer, okay, and not the sale, if that makes sense. Okay, so basically what happens is you start putting the customer in a position to decide what content they want to engage with, when they want to be engaging with you, how they want to engage with you. All right, and this is basically what lifecycle marketing is about. So it could be things like if you're looking at the convert stage, once somebody has taken action, so they've maybe found your social media page, your landing pages, which we'll cover in the marketing section of our training this week. And then they convert, so they make a decision that they're actually going to subscribe, maybe to your newsletter or your email campaign, or they are open to accepting your sales calls. Then what happens is you get somebody that starts engaging with your content. And when you start using something like LeadSquared, which we will get into shortly, you will see that your engagement rates with your content will be much higher than if you were just using a standalone bulk SMS system or a standalone what we call email system. If you are using something like a bulk emailing system, all right, or you're using something like a bulk SMS system, I just want you to understand that that does not mean that you have a sales and marketing automation solution. Okay, that's not what sales and marketing automation is about. Just a reminder, please, if you can just make sure that you are on mute. Okay, if somebody could just check that you're on mute. Right, so let's move on. So what is LeadSquared? Now, the reason why I want to cover this is because when it comes to software, many of you have probably signed up for a lot of software, in the past. And the one thing that I want to mention to you is and I'm speaking out of experience myself, many of us sign up for software and we actually only ever get to use, a small percentage of the actual functionality that is available inside the software that we pay for. Some of you might have even paid for software before, and you sign up and you pay the subscription for 3 months, and without even knowing it, you've spent 6,000 Rand over 3 months, and you actually never get to use it properly because you just didn't even know how to set it up to begin with. So that is something that we deal with in our, what we call our implementation phase. But so what is LeadSquared? I mean, there's 3 major components that make up LeadSquared. And the first one is sales and the mobile CRM. So everything to do with sales, all right, is covered in LeadSquared. Then it's got a very powerful marketing automation capability. And thirdly, the lead conversion platform. So some of you might only be using LeadSquared right now for marketing automation, and that's fine. But the purpose of me sharing this information with you is to make sure that you understand that LeadSquared is a very powerful lead conversion platform. We've been building this platform to make sure that we can help you take your marketing messaging into the market and then have a solid sales execution plan. Make sure that you do not have any lead leakage, and make sure that you can convert as many of the leads that come into your LeadSquared environment into paying customers. Okay, so if we talk about sales execution in a little bit more detail, well, what does this mean? So sales Sales execution really starts off with, number one, having the ability for you to capture your leads from any channel. So every one of you today that have joined this training are currently generating leads from online sources and offline sources. So whether you're generating leads from Facebook lead ads or Google ads, you could be generating leads on LinkedIn. You could be generating leads, from billboards. Basically, what we do is LeadSquared gives you the ability to capture all those leads from all sources into one platform. And the reason why that is so important to mention is that globally, it's reported that companies generate leads, and you guys know this, whether you're paying for advertising or you're generating them by cold calling, it costs money and it takes time to generate leads. So how do you feel about it when I tell you that companies across the world lose 47% of their leads because of lead leakage? Because you don't have your leads coming into one centralized place, you put yourself at risk of losing almost half of the leads that you've gone to the effort of generating. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Imagine if you could, number one, eradicate all lead leakage, all right, today. What would that do to your sales conversions? So something for you to think about. So that's one thing that we take care of when we set up a new subscriber on LeadSquared. The next thing is that if you think about the world of a consumer, if a consumer sends you an inquiry on your website, all right, and you've got a team of agents that are responsible to actually take action, so actually call a lead when a lead comes in, it's very few businesses that have got what we call a lead management strategy in place. And why is this important? Because you've got to get the lead that is coming to your business to the relevant salespeople as fast as possible. All right, so LeadSquared enables you to automate the distribution of leads from your lead source to the relevant salesperson, all right, instantly. So remember, when you generate a lead, they say globally, if you don't answer that lead within 27 minutes, all right, the lead is now cold. So if you're going to generate a lead, then make sure you've got a lead management plan in place to make sure that that lead is responded to as fast as possible. And you can do that by using the automations that are available to you in LeadSquared. Now, when it comes to generating leads, the next thing is that not every lead is the same. Okay, so you need to have support from your sales and marketing automation platform that enables you, number one, to start qualifying your leads. Now, if somebody visits one of your product pages or your websites or your Facebook ads at 2 o'clock in the morning and you are sleeping, LeadSquared enables you to start qualifying your leads, prioritizing your leads based on their profile, actions that they've taken, and certain behaviors. And based on that, you can then set up rules to distribute the leads to the most relevant or the most empowered salesperson and decide on what is the next best step in your sales cycle, all right, to attend to that lead without you having to do this on a repetitive basis and manually. So the next part is that when we deal with sales execution and CRM is that, remember, for every lead that comes in, activity starts immediately, and sales is all about having the right activities, and every activity that you take today, I can guarantee you, requires a follow-up activity and tasks associated. So you need to make sure that you have some kind of platform in place, and especially now that we're working remotely, to ensure that your salespeople, doesn't matter where they're working from, have got the right reminders to make sure that they follow up on every single lead in your pipeline. If you don't do that, you're just going to have more lead leakage, as we spoke about earlier on. When it comes to marketing automation, essentially what happens is if you think about your businesses, many of you have been doing what you've done for a number of years, and you understand. So let me give you an example. If somebody visited your website today and they inquired about a specific product, you already know what the next communication would be that you would send them if you were doing this manually. Now imagine if you could automate that. So you create all the content up front, and basically LeadSquared, irrespective of the time that this lead comes into your environment, they start sending the relevant content, okay, to the right lead. And this is what increases your engagement, because people, consumers that are in your pipeline, start consuming with the content that they want. And this is why you will experience a much higher engagement rate. The next thing is that when we get into LeadSquared itself, you will also see that LeadSquared gives you the ability, all right, and it's the first platform that I've been able to experience this, where it gives you a 360-degree view of every single lead and customer that's in your funnel, all right? It will show you every kind of engagement, activity, and the social tracking, email tracking, to understand how a lead has engaged with your specific content, so that you can have the right conversations across all channels at all times. So really, really important, because now what happens is it starts moving you into what we call that life cycle marketing phase. And this is what, when we show you some of the campaigns that we work with, why your open rates will be so much higher, why your engagement rates with your content will be so higher, and why from the time it takes you to generate a lead, why you will increase your sales conversions and speed it up, because a consumer is driving that process for you. Okay. The next thing is that from a lead conversion platform, basically taking the power of the marketing automation and the sales and mobile CRM, combining this with machine learning and all the fancy technical stuff that the clever guys who have built LeadSquared have put together, you will be able to start converting leads much faster and start understanding and predicting the capability of lead conversions. So essentially, it's really important, number one, to be in a position where you can quantify the leads, qualify the leads, and understand which leads have got the best conversion probability. So let me put it to you this way. If you are in the business of sales and you get 100 leads that come in today, what LeadSquared does for you is that it will take the leads with the highest probability of converting and give those leads to you first. Would you not want to be speaking to those ones that are more likely to convert first, and then deal with the other ones that are not, that haven't been warmed up and ready to buy? So this is why you can expect, when you're using a solution like LeadSquared, is that you can expect to increase your sales productivity in the first month by at least 14%. Okay, so really, really powerful using sales and marketing automation. Just globally, to give you a perspective, is that these are just some of our clients. We work with a number of industries, from higher education, schools, edtech schools, career schools, travel companies. We call it BFSI, so banking, finance, insurance, healthcare, travel and hospitality. It really is unlimited in its use case. So there is no problem that LeadSquared cannot solve. However, what we do require from you as a LeadSquared subscriber is basically just to always share with us the problem that you are trying to solve, and we will build, using our professional services team, the solution for what you're looking for. So I think the most practical way to train people or make you learn, kind of the features that are available to you in LeadSquared, is to give you, a live business case. And some of you who are, you may be familiar with, Marvel and the Shield series, but in this case, what you're going to do is I want to use a live business case to basically just demonstrate to you how, you know, if this was a case of insurance, and I'm sure you'll be able to apply this to whatever industry you're in, is that in this specific case, we've got Shield Insurance, and basically they've got 3 product lines. So in this case, you've got health insurance, life insurance, and third-party insurance. Not important for you to understand the dynamics of the actual product itself, but important for you to understand that there are 3 different product lines. So just think about this in your own business. This is the organizational structure for the use case that we are going to be using. And as you can see, we've got a sales manager at the top of this organization, who's Nick Fury. We then have 2 team leaders. So we've got off the sales manager, we've got Steve Rogers, a team leader, and Tony Stark, and they've got sales users underneath them. Then we've also got Steve Rogers has got 2 other sales users, and you'll see on the top right-hand corner, we've got Agent Phil Coulson, who is the marketing user. So just think about your structure. And again, as we mentioned the roles earlier, you've got an administrator, which would be like the guy who drives or sets up the rules for your LeadSquared engine. Then you've got sales managers, sales users, and a marketing user. And inside LeadSquared, you define what permissions and roles you want to be able to assign to these people. So if we have a look at the business processes, so what these people are responsible for. So Agent Coulson, he's the guy in this business who has to promote the services of Shield. And he does this using email campaigns, Facebook ad campaigns, and he's responsible for maintaining the website. Okay, and most of you will have your marketing user in your company. Now, he built these campaigns because this is how they generate leads, and their leads are captured directly into LeadSquared. You then have Tony and Steve, and these are the team leaders that you look after all the sales users, and they need a complete view of every single lead that is handled by their respective teams only. So their sales teams, okay, will be reporting into them, and they basically want to have a full view of the leads that are working on. And then we've got Thor and Carol, all right, and these are the guys that are working on what we call high priority customers. So these are people that have got a very high credit rating, and they've got a very high lead score, which has all been set up for them in LeadSquared. And when a high priority lead comes in, the automation in LeadSquared means that these leads are automatically assigned to them based on criteria that's been set up. The non-priority leads that are captured in LeadSquared are also assigned to users based on availability, and sales users in this business case basically call these leads and try and convert them into customers. So they capture all these calls, and basically they've integrated their dialing system into LeadSquared. They collect documents and basically try and convert a customer into a closed customer. So when we want to go and set up LeadSquared for Shield, all right, we basically have to follow a process that looks something like this. And that process essentially is going to be around setting up their company profile, okay, really important. Setting up the users. So that's why it's important for us to always understand the structure of your organization. Now, what's really important is when we talk about defining lead fields, in their business, on the previous slide, we spoke about things like credit rating scores. So in your business, think about the lead fields, the important fields that you would want to capture for each of the leads and customers that come into your environment. We then need to go and create things like activities and tasks. We've got to then build out forms and processes using the process designer. We set up automations, and an automation would be how that lead is automatically assigned to a specific user. We set up the landing pages, and remember Agent Phil Coulson was the one who sets up these landing pages so that we can collect leads, and then we build email campaigns to basically get people to find the landing page so that we can generate leads. Okay, is there any questions that you guys want to ask at this moment in time? Any questions, just pop it onto the chat box. I'm going to move into sharing our LeadSquared screen with you. Right, so what you guys are now looking at is the LeadSquared application. Now, we have logged into the Shields profile that we have set up. And basically, as I mentioned earlier, is that they've got 3 products that they are marketing: health insurance, life insurance, and third-party insurance. Now, they've got their team, as we've introduced to you, and these are the people that, that we are going to be setting up in LeadSquared. So the first thing is that you need to understand that when it comes to LeadSquared, you will see that we've got something over here that says settings. And on settings, the person that is responsible to set up the rules for the organization is the administrator role. And based on the different permissions that you have assigned to your role, that will define the actions that you can take in LeadSquared. Okay, so a company profile basically is everything that you're having a look over here, and it's essentially what we need to go and set up. So first of all, if we look at the settings page over here, and you come down to company profile, the company profile is the place where you're going to just go and update things like your company name, the date format you want to use, your country code, your phone format, your currency, time zone, etc., and your address. Really importantly, especially if you're going to be sending out emails in LeadSquared, and very importantly, your domains. So what this means is that if your domain is Shield Insurance, or in this case, Red Chandelier, you basically are setting up and saying that you can only send emails from a redchandelier.co.za email address. So really important, because you want your users to be representing your brand correctly. The next thing that's important is, if you have a look here under users and permissions, is that when you use LeadSquared and you know that you've got a team of 10 people, what you want to do is you want to go and update and add all the users to your actual profile. Now, if they're not set up here, they obviously would not be able to log into LeadSquared. So if you want to create a user, all right, so some of you, as an example, when you subscribe to LeadSquared, you would subscribe and say you've got 10 users. At the moment, you can see we've got 1 of 7 users that are set up. So to create a user, all you're going to do is hit the create button, and over here, you're going to go and fill in the person's details that you want to give access to. Now, what you're going to do over here is just define what role they are. Now, we've covered these roles already. There's the 4 roles over there, and you're going to define who they report to. Okay, so you can see over here, who do they report to? Very important, because that will define, you know, how they fit into your infrastructure. Okay, so that is how you go and update or add a user. Let's say, for example, this particular user no longer works for your organization. You would have the ability as an administrator to go and deactivate this user, and also go and set specific permissions that we will cover during this, this training itself. Okay, if we go and have a look at one of these users, so let's just go and hit the edit button, you will see that there's a number of tabs over here linked to a user. So the first thing that you want to do is, if you want to edit any information, you're simply going to hit the little edit button over here to allow you to edit this information. The work details is simply another tab, okay, where you can go and edit this. And now if you have a look at on the screen, when we get into your holiday calendars and work calendars, basically you will see that if I've set up, for example, all the public holidays that are in South Africa, essentially what that means is that it's going to mark these holidays and mark this user as unavailable on those particular days. Location details is basically where you're going to set up where this person works, because if you want to start assigning leads to people based on their location or zip codes, etc., then you're going to want to make sure that you've stored your location details. You might have a salesperson that deals with leads in Boksburg, as an example. So by setting up your actual location settings, it means that you'll be able to distribute leads accordingly. All right. The next thing is that when we get into managing of permissions, this is where you start updating, whether people have got the ability, number one, to use the mobile app. So you even have the power to decide who has the ability to use your mobile app, right? You can also link specific IPs. So in other words, if they're not logging in with your company IP, you basically lock them or restrict that access, which is there for specific security. Okay. And then lastly, if we come across here to other details, these are custom fields that you can set up and create. And report subscriptions is where you basically define, if you've got sales users as an example, and you want to send them a report automatically every day of the tasks that they need to complete, basically you can go and set up the reports over here, and you can go and select the kind of columns that you want them to see in their reports every day. Now, once you've done your changes, always remember simply to hit the save option over here. So if we wanted to go and set up a user, and we hit the create button over here, let's go and create a user quickly. And so this is as easy as it is for you guys. Remember, you can only set up users based on the number of licenses you have purchased. So let's press it. This is a regular person, and let's say that they are going to be reporting into Chantal Fraser, and we say create user. That's as simple as it is to create a user. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is, if we come down here and we come to company profile. So let's just click on profile quickly. Under your company profile, it gives you the ability to also go and change your logo. So if you're wanting to update your logo to replace the logo that's placed over here, you've got the ability just to go and upload that logo over there. All right, so very, very straightforward when it comes to updating company profile and setting up users. So the next thing that you want to do is, when we come over here to sales groups as an example, so let's just go back to users and permissions. You have the ability to organize your sales users into different groups. Now, this is really, really important, because you might have a sales group that actions leads in a specific region or a few suburbs, or based on product, etc. So this gives you the ability to go and create your actual sales groups. So remember, in the case of Shield, they had one group that dealt with priority leads, and they had one group that dealt with non-priority leads. So if you want to go and create sales groups, and basically this is where you're going to do it over here. So essentially what you're going to do is, under users and permissions and sales groups, you're going to hit the create button to go and create the group. And here you would call it whatever you want to call your group. So let's just call it priority leads as an example. At this moment in time, you're then going to go and allocate, set up a manager that you want to make the manager of this group. So let's say it's Tony Stark. And this is where you define that. So in this case, Tony Stark needs to view all the leads of the groups, and he needs the ability to add users to his groups, and he wants to modify leads. So we hit save. So there's the manager. And the next step we want to do is go and add users. So if Sam Wilson is part of the sales group and Scott Lang is part of this group, this is basically how we go and add users to the group, and then save and close. So that's how easy it is to go and create what we call your different sales groups. All right. Remember, guys, please pop through any questions that you may have. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is permission templates. And this is really, really important. And permission templates basically empowers you to do things like decide who gets to view, create, edit, delete, and import leads. Okay. And it also gives you the ability to decide who views, creates, deletes activities, who can export data, and who can basically edit and mark tasks as complete, who can assess accounts, view certain dashboards, reports, etc. So it's important for you to understand what kind of permissions you want to set up. Now, you can set up permission templates based on your different roles. And as you can see here, you've got sales manager positions, permissions, marketing user permissions, and sales user permissions, etc. Now, if we click on create, just to show you how to create a permission template, because this is something that you can do, then remember, in the Shield Insurance Group, we've got different permissions that were available. So in this case, if I want to go and set up, let's say, a non-priority permission template, and then what I want to do is I want to say that it's not applicable for all users, it's applicable for people that are put in a specific group. Then what happens is you've got the ability to go and customize the kind of permissions you want to assign. So here you can see, if I want to restrict access to a dashboard or custom apps or reports or call recordings, if you are integrating your telephony into LeadSquared, you've got the ability to restrict access to these specific people. You also have the ability to basically go and use any of these nodes to go and change your access. So if you see over here, if I'm clicking on any one of these buttons, green means I'm giving somebody full access, all right, partially allowed, all right. And if I click on it again, basically when we're looking at the grey boxes, it means it's not applicable or it's not allowed. Okay, so you can see that would be no access. So if I'm looking at my salespeople as an example, I might want to say that I don't want them to have access to export data at all, but I am happy for them to import data. When it comes to leads, I'm happy for them to view a lead. Okay, they can create a lead, but I don't want them to be able to edit every single field. So I mark this one as configure, and then I'm going to click on this configure link. Now, what this means is that I'm now going to decide and say, right, my salespeople can go and update somebody's phone number, all right? And in that case, I'm saying these are the fields, these are the fields that can be updated, and these are the ones that cannot be updated. So in other words, maybe I don't want them to be able to update an email address or change an email. So what I've done is I've configured it to give them partial access, but based on the rules that you define. Okay, now remember, when you do that, you always want to save any configuration changes you make, and you can do that for every single permission that you want to set up. You can also apply each of these templates, all right, to specific users. So I can say that Carol that's the access she must have. I can also do it at a role level, and I can do it at a group level. So you decide. You might want to apply those permission templates to a user, a role, or a group level. Okay, so that's essentially what you're going to do if you're wanting to apply specific templates. So really, really important over there. Now, the next thing is that when we get into things like teams, the team feature basically allows you to group users into teams that basically replicate your structure in your business itself. So you might want to put people in a team where you can give them all the same kind of working hours. So maybe your admin team works from 9 to 4 in the afternoon. Then what you would want to do is go and create a team where you can apply the same working hour rules to them. You can apply the same kind of reporting to them. And really important, if you have a look here, I can either add a team or I can go and edit a team and create a team over here. So very important, gives you the ability, remember, to go and replicate your company's hierarchy using teams. So then what we want to do is, if you ever want to add users to a team, you know, when they join your organization, you'll see over here from a user perspective, if we go back to the users that we've set up, you've got the ability to go and add people to an actual team. So if you go and click on any one of these people and say edit and set permissions, it gives you the ability to go and add them. You can see over here under details, you'll see team, who they're reporting to, their work details, location details, manage permissions. So you can see over here, we've already set up permissions and we can go and link people to this over here. Okay, so remember Workday templates, it would be things like I said earlier, if your admin team starts working from 9 to 5, you would then want to go and set up maybe your marketing team, as an example, they work from 8 to 4 every day. So you want to go and set up those templates. If you've got people that take, let me call it a break at lunchtime, and you want to set up their break, so automatically they don't receive leads, or you know they're not available during that time, you can set all these rules up at a role level, at a team level. So basically LeadSquared understands the availability of each one of the people in your team itself. And then you can apply, you can see I've applied that rule to the entire marketing team. Okay, holiday calendar, once again, we've spoken about that, but holiday is going to be where you want to apply things like, you know, all the public holidays in South Africa. And if we click on the holiday calendar itself, just to show you how easy this is to use, and we say create, you'll see over here, it gives you the ability to say, let's say that this is Chantel's annual leave, and I come across here, I can go and capture all the dates that Chantel won't be available on, because when you start automating the allocation of leads, you don't want people to get leads when they are not available to actually give your customers the best service. So this is why it's so important to set up your infrastructure correctly in LeadSquared. Okay. So just wanted to check in with you guys. Anybody got any questions at this moment in time? Okay, perfect. Now, the next thing that I want to show you when we come across into LeadSquared itself, and we're still working in the actual settings, is that you will see that underneath the leads tab is that we've got something that we call smart views. So I'm just going to move across to smart views quickly, but the best way for you to understand what a smart view is let's say that you've got your non-priority sales team, and those guys are getting leads coming in and they've got to make phone calls every day. Smart Views enables your non-priority team to work in one place, one single place in LeadSquared, to see all the people that they need to phone. And basically, it's one centralized work area that will give them access to accounts, leads, activities, and tasks that they need to complete every single day. Now, you might have your manager that wants to see the total sales that are happening across their sales team on that day, and that would be a smart view that would be applicable to that specific role in LeadSquared. Now, very important, it's besides giving you one centralized place to work, it really gives you, number one, reduces the learning curve that you require inside LeadSquared, because you're giving your users one place to work. And all these tabs are refreshed and updated in real time, whether you're working from the mobile app or on the web portal. So let me give you an example quickly. If we hit this create button, and remember, every single one of you, even if you are just a sales user in LeadSquared, you can create your own smart views as well. Okay, so these smart views that we're going to create now are going to be available and assigned to specific users. But if you, as an individual user, want to create your own smart view, you would do it in the lead section under smart views here, because it's only going to be applicable to you. So let me give you an example, and let's go and say new leads today, and we say create tabs. So what I'm doing over here is I'm just literally going to go and create a tab, and I want to say that I want to see all my leads, all right, that are in, let's call it the prospect phase. So let's just call it prospects to prospects. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, if you want to choose a different color for your tab, you can do that. And over here, I'm going to go and hit the select condition. So when I do that, I've already said that I want to see all my leads that are in the lead stage prospect. So all I'm going to do over here is I'm going to search for my criteria, and I'm going to say lead stage. Okay, and where the lead stage is prospect, because that's what I'm looking for, I say add. Now you can see I've set my criteria to be lead stage as prospect. And when I say set criteria and say save, what I've done over now, right now, is I've created a smart view. So every day, if I just come and look at my smart views, I will see in one centralized place all my prospects, because I need to be calling those leads. And I'll show you how that refreshes in real time as we keep moving through the system itself. Now, if you want to create more smart views, you've got the ability over here, all right, to add new tabs. So here you can see if I click the add new tab button and I want to create another smart view. So let's say that maybe I want to select everything that has a task where, let's say, I've got to do an appointment as an example. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to say everything that is pending. So I've got a task that is pending, and basically I want to see a list of that. So I'm going to say these are all my tasks pending as an example, and I go and press save. I've just created 2 smart views. So think about the key things that you need to be on top of every day based on your role in your company, and set up your smart views. So if you are in real estate, as an example, you might want to see all your buyers. You might want to see all your sellers. You might want to see, if you're insurance, how many people, you've got quotes out to that haven't signed their quotes. You might want to, if you're in automotive, see how many people have booked a test drive. So it's ability for you to view everything in one place. Okay. If we go back to our settings over here, the next thing that I just want to draw your attention to is that you've got the ability to set up what we call check-in and check-out features. So when we are working with check-in and check-outs, so over here, when you've got user check-in, basically this gives you the ability to see when your users, all right, are checked in and when they checked out. So basically, when are they online? And basically, it's almost like an online check-in system. So if you want to enable, all right, people to check in on the mobile app, all right, and then what you're going to do over here, so it's on LeadSquared, you're just literally going to enable your check-in function. So once again, you can also do this for different users. So as an example, maybe it's not relevant for you to know when your marketing team checks in, but you do want to know when your actual salespeople check in. So you've got the ability to go and set up your check-ins based on roles and different groups. So maybe I want to know that for my sales users, when are they checked in, and my sales managers, but it's not important for me to know when my marketing users are checked in. You've got that ability to track that as well. And why is it important? Because when we start getting to reports, you'll be able to pull attendance reports and check last locations and things like that. You also have the ability to automate when people are checked in. So really, really it gives you complete flexibility. Okay, so now the next thing that I want to move on to is in the lead section. If we click on leads, very importantly, every single one of you that are on this training this morning are going to have different lead fields. Lead fields are the it's the data fields or the information that you want to track or record for every customer, a lead that you deal with. So if you are an automotive, an example of a lead field will be the make of the car, model of the car, the color of the car, maybe the last service date. If you're in real estate, it could be, you know, how many bedrooms somebody wants in a house, how many bathrooms. And if you're insurance, it might be things like, what is your highest education? Are you employed? So you need to make sure that all your lead fields are set up in LeadSquared to match what you require in your business. Because if you have your lead field set up correctly, it means that you can mine and filter your data down to every possible lead field you can imagine. And imagine what kind of power that gives you to leverage when you're building customer journeys, so that you stop giving everybody the same marketing experience. So if you want to add lead fields, just want to first of all show you that the first thing to do is that LeadSquared gives you a number of customized lead fields that are available. So in other words, if you wanted to check what fields exist to capture people's names, first go and do a search here and type in the word name. So you will see in this case, it says there's already a field, first name, last name, and Skype name. So you don't have to search that. But for something like, let's call it a vehicle registration, that probably wouldn't be in here. So let's go and click on vehicle. You can see it's not there. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to click on the create button. And this is how you create lead fields. Remember, only your administrator can create lead fields, because once you implement it at administrator level, everybody in your organization would see this. So I'm going to say vehicle registration number. Now, in this case, it's a text box, and I'm going to leave it like this, and I'm going to say that it's not mandatory, but I also want people to be able to import this data. So if you've got a database of customers, you'd be able to import that. So I'm going to say save and add new. But I also want to show you that if you are going to do something like set up a drop down, so maybe you've got a list of all the different kind of vehicle types that you already want to create, so it's just a drop down, then you've got the ability to select and create different fields. So if I do this and say vehicle make, and over here I come down and say drop down. So if I say drop down, all right, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in here just a few examples to show you. Now, say VW Polo. Here I'm going to write BMW, and let's just do one more, say an Audi. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say save, and what I've done is I've created a drop down option when it comes to the vehicle types. And that is how you guys set up lead fields. You guys might also very well deal with what we call dependent lead fields. So as an example, if you are doing something like setting up in a country, but then within the country you want to have different values, like within the United States you want to have things like Florida, Miami, etc. Then you use dependent fields, and you can see as an example we have a parent field, our country, and then we've got the city, which is the child field. So if you want to create one, you would just hit the create button. But if I show you over here what we've done, you'll see over here, the country field would be things like, if I go and select Austria as an example, then I'm going to go and select my origin fields for Austria. So I'll just say city 1, city 2, city 3 as an example. So just remember, it's what we call lead dependent fields. So that's how you create those fields over there. It could also be that a lead field could be, if I choose as an example, VW Polo. VW Polo has got another 6 kinds of polos you could have, and that would be a dependent field, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's how you would use your dependent fields. So let's move across to what we call lead sources and lead stages. This is really important. So if we deal with lead stages and we click on lead stages over here, basically what it does is it gives you the ability to document and put down into LeadSquared what are the different stages your leads would go through until they become a customer or not. So on this side of the screen, you've got what we call your active stages, and on this side, your inactive stages. So in an active stage, easy to deal with. This would be maybe the customer's not suitable for your product. So you can't give them the health insurance because they're not currently employed, or it's just an invalid lead. On this case, on this side over here, you would have prospects, opportunities, customers. And if you want to add any stage to your actual lead stage pipeline, what you would do over here is just say something like proposal sent, okay, and hit your little save button. If you want to move things around, so let's just say that we've identified that proposal sent, we want to move this up, you can change the order in which these things happen. And if you want your people in your team to add notes or comments on every single lead stage change, you would just tick this box over here, which enables them to add in comments on a lead stage. So that's up to you if you want to enable those comments. If you don't, just leave it unticked. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do is, let's say over here that we want to go to lead sources. Lead sources is every single place you could possibly generate a lead from. And this is going to be, some of them will be common for all of us, and some of them are going to be very unique. So let's say if you have a look at this list over here, these are all the sources that we currently generate leads from. But let's say I want to add in landing pages, because we spoke about Agent Colson generating leads from landing pages. And maybe I also want to add in something like showroom walk-ins as an example. So you can add in any lead sources, and this is really important that you get this right, because LeadSquared will show you exactly which lead sources are performing the best for you, where you should be applying more of your focus when it comes to generating leads. And just remember, when you do that, to always hit the save button at the bottom of the screen. So really, really important to make sure you've captured your lead sources. Okay, so if you're using things like LinkedIn, Facebook, capture those sources over there. Now, we often get asked this question, okay, well, I'm using LeadSquared, and I've got a whole lot of leads that are sitting on a database that I want to import. So people ask the question, like, how do I import leads into LeadSquared? So what I'm going to do is, I just want to make sure you're with me, and I'm on this the lead module here. So I've moved out of settings now, and I'm moving into leads, and I'm going to click on manage leads. If you guys want to import data, now remember, the timing to import data can only happen once you've set up your lead fields, etc. So if I want to go and import leads, you literally click on the import leads button, and from here it's going to give the ability to go and search for your leads file. So if I go and have a look for my leads file, so here I've got a file of leads I want to import. then what's going to happen is it's going to give me the option to either cancel what I'm doing or say next. So you can't really go wrong. So when you hit on the next button, what's going to happen now is it's going to show you all the headers that you've got in your CSV file that you've imported, right? And it's going to show you the fields in LeadSquared and ask you to confirm if this is where you want to populate that data you're importing. So for email address, yes, I want it to be in my email field. First name, that's correct. Last name, lead source, mobile number. Superhero name, you can see it doesn't know where to put this because I don't have any field over here that says superhero name. So at this moment in time, I do want to bring this field in, but I need to create a new field so that I've got a place for LeadSquared to actually populate this information. So I'm going to say superhero name, it's text and maximum length, and save over there. Now, once I've done that, it's creating that field for me, and now I can go and hit next. So LeadSquared's now going to take all that information that I've got on my actual CSV file, and it's going to go and upload this information. Now, very important, this is the things that you would decide. So number one, we always advise our clients that use LeadSquared not to create what we call duplicate leads, because it's going to contaminate your database. So if we've got any people on this database, all right, that are already in LeadSquared, I want to ignore them. I might want to choose overwrite duplicates because the version of the data that I'm importing is more recent. So then you could overwrite it. And if I've got any empty fields, so let's say that previously I've got a record for a potential lead, but I didn't have their superhero power available in my, in their lead card, then I can say update any empty fields of duplicates, okay? And import only if a valid email exists. And you can also, at this moment in time, decide, well, it might be a list of leads that belong to me, or it could be a list of leads that belongs to Phil Coulson. So depending on who you want to allocate those leads to, you can do it right now. All right, and very importantly, we'll get to lists later on, but you've got the ability to add them to a list, and you can put in a note. So if I want to say that these are, what am I importing? We say these are Chantel's leads from old CRM as an example. And then what I go and do is I hit the next button. LeadSquared's now going to go and import my data, and it will tell me, when my leads have been updated. Okay, so any questions so far, guys, on importing data? I think pretty straightforward. So that you can import whatever fields you want to. If the fields don't exist, you'll create it, but it's there to make sure that you've got a full view of every single customer. Okay, now you'll see over here that there's a button at the bottom that says go to manage lists. Now this is something that's really, really powerful inside the LeadSquared application. So if we head to leads, and I'm going to go to manage lists. What a list is think about things like this. You might have customers in your database that are pet lovers, people that play golf, people that are wanting to buy a house that is in a specific suburb between a specific price range. Any list you can think of, you can create that list inside LeadSquared. And what that means is that you could give every single list of leads or customers a very, very specific customer experience. So there's two kinds of lists that you can create inside LeadSquared. The most popular being what we call a dynamic list. Now, a static list, just to explain it to you, is a list that you create today, and it's going to have a fixed number of leads. Okay, so if you have a look here, you'll see that this list over here is a static list. This is a dynamic list. Now, today, if you look at this, this is the leads that we've just imported. There's 18 leads, okay? And it's only ever going to stay at 18 unless I manually add somebody to this list. However, a dynamic list, all right, gives you the ability So let's say that anybody that comes in with a specific superhero power, you want to add them to a dynamic list. LeadSquared will do it for you automatically. So those days of you creating lists and managing them and trying to put people on different Excel spreadsheets, you don't have to do that anymore. So if I say create a list, let me show you how easy this is to do. And let's say that we want to go and look at anybody that has a lead stage. And remember, we created that field just now saying proposal sent. So we want to create a list of everybody that's in the lead stage proposal sent. And we say add. So as your team is using LeadSquared and people add the lead stage or update the lead stage to proposal sent, we're going to find all our leads that currently have that status. Now you'll see it tells me that there's 0 today, all right? But if I save it as a dynamic list, as people get added to that list where, or the lead stage changes to proposal sent, in this example, they'll automatically be added to this list. So when you ever come back to your manage lists menu item and you refresh this, it will automatically update. So let me show you quickly what I mean. So if we come down here to manage leads, and now we're going to go and have a look at leads that we've imported. You can see here's all the data that we've actually imported, all right, through that CSV file. And if we go and update any one of these leads, just show you quickly what this looks like. And we want to go and update the stage, and we want to move it to proposal sent. The moment that I update that lead, they're automatically going to be added to this particular list underneath your manage list menu item. Okay, so when you refresh this, it's basically going to go and fetch your lead. Can you see now we've got one person in this list? And if you want to do a campaign just to these people that are sitting on your proposal sent list to maybe prompt them to get it back to you, from here, you'd be able to do bulk actions like send a bulk SMS campaign to them. Maybe it's a new listing, you know, that matches their criteria. Maybe it's a car that you've got that they are looking for, or you can go and send a bulk email directly to just this list instead of sending everybody the same communication. Okay, so now the next thing that you want to do is we spoke about setting up things like lead prioritization, giving lead scores so that your salespeople can deal with your leads that are most likely to convert first. So how do you do that? Well, basically, if you want to go and customize your scores, and I just want to show you where this comes from. So if we go to leads quickly and we say manage leads, I just want to show you on a lead card quickly where you would view that. So these are all the leads in our system, and you can see right now there's no lead score. And if I click on one of these leads, you'll see over here that right now the lead score, the engagement score, and the lead quality score is all 0. So what we want to do is we want to go set those scores up. Now this is something that you think about because you know what defines a high quality score. So if we click on settings over here, just to show you where you go and define all those things. So underneath leads, and if you come over here to what we call core activities and scores, and you click on this, it gives you the ability. So number one, you'll see that we give you a whole lot of activities already that we know people would take. You can go and edit any of these things. So if you say edit, and let's say if somebody fills in a form, or they open your email, or they click on a link, or they subscribe to a newsletter, you can go and say, right, well, based on that, if somebody, let's say, subscribes to my newsletter, I want to give them a score of 30. Okay, so what you would do over here is just go and update your score. So the system will automatically start implementing these scores for you. Okay, so remember just that when you're done, hit the save button. But what's really important is that you also have the ability, all right, to go and update what we call custom activities and scores. So over here, if you want to go and edit any of your information under custom activities and scores, you'll see over here. So for call details, as an example, we've got a code set up in a score. So let's say that we want to go and update or create a different score. So we'll say add over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, well, if somebody, let's say, books a service, right? And it would be an inbound activity. I want to allow predated activities as an example, and I say next. Now what it's going to do is give me the ability to go and configure what fields I want to show over here. So maybe what I want to do is add a field and say vehicle registration number. And what I'm going to do over here is define what kind of field I want. Okay, so in this case, let's say that I'm just going to make this a number field, right? And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say that if somebody submits their insurance documentation to me, I want them to actually get a higher score than somebody who doesn't. And I say next. And basically what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to hit the save button. So this is how you go and create what we call your custom activities and scores. And then you've got your core activities and scores that are available to you in the system itself. Okay, so really important that you just understand that you've got the ability to go and assign scores, which will help you move leads down your funnel faster and enable users to focus on what you know, the leads that are what we call higher priority than others. If we come down here to lead prioritization, right? So you've got two things over here that we've got what we call lead quality criteria and engagement scoring. So if we click on lead quality criteria, and you'll see it says here no lead quality has been defined. Basically, if we hit this button here that says create, this is where we go and do things to identify those high quality leads. So let's say, for example, this person submits their vehicle registration number, okay? And we also just want to edit this, and we want to go and apply different weightings as an example. So you've got the ability to go and create your lead quality attributes here. So let me give you an example. If I'm applying for an insurance, in the case of Shield Insurance, and I'll give my telephone number and my email address, that would assign me a specific score. But if I take the next steps and actually provide my FICA documentation, it means that I've got a much higher lead quality score, and you would want your salespeople to action those leads before they actually action a lead that hasn't provided their details. And then from an engagement scoring perspective, this is the place over here where you've got the ability to go and have a look at the activities. So this is how the lead is engaging and how many, and within a specific period of time. So in the last 30 days, let's just say that this is a prospect opportunity, and in this case, they click on an email, maybe they resubscribed as an example, then I want that to impact my lead scoring. So essentially, you have the ability to go and define the rules around which leads are the highest priority, got the highest quality, engaging with your content to make sure that your salespeople are speaking to people that are ready to buy. Okay, so we've spoken about custom activities, and we've spoken about core activities, and then lead prioritization, very important. Okay, now the next thing that I want to take you through is, let's have a look over here quickly. So when it comes to working inside LeadSquared, if you have a look at what we call custom activities. So let's just head back here to leads, and we go to your custom activities and scores. Remember, an activity is something that we do. So let's say if we call somebody, right, and we say add a custom activity. So let's say in this example that the parent field in this case is that we called somebody and they are interested in insurance, as an example. Now, what we're going to do is when you say that this is outbound, it's an outbound activity, maybe I want to assign a score to say 20 because they are interested. And what I want to do is, I want to log all the changes, and I want to show it in the activity list, which will all make sense to you shortly. And I hit the next button. The next thing over here is that I need to go and define, all right, well, if somebody is interested, so let's go and add a field over here to say, what are they interested in? So we say interested. And then over here, I'm going to say drop down. So think about your sales users now calling these prospects. And what I do is I go and hit on the settings button. Now, if somebody is interested, then what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to say, what are they interested in? Health insurance, because we don't just want a generic are interested, life insurance, and we had that other product which we called the third party insurance. Okay, so over here, you can also define if you want to be able to get your users to select more than one of these options, because you could have a customer that's interested in 2 products and not just one. So if that is the case, then you're literally going to hit the next button, say next, and now what you've done is you've created a custom activity for your users to take action on. All right, so very, very straightforward when it comes to adding in your drop-down fields. Right, so the next thing that we want to do is I want to take you through to your actual lead view, so we can start having a look at how you actually work through your leads. So before we do that though, I want to just finish off setting up sales activity. So in this case, remember, if you guys have got products or services that you're offering, and what you want to do is you want to add your product set so that you can track your revenue and your sales pipeline. So how do you do that? Well, in this case, you'll see that I've got the ability to create 500 products. So I'm just going to create one additional product here, and we'll call it third. So product ID, we'll call it number 4, or whatever your product ID code is. And we'll say that this is third party insurance. If you want to put in a description, you can do that. So just hit save. So there's my products that I've set up. All right, and then you've got the ability to also set up things like your sales activity settings, and this is where you would define if you want to log your activities, what your you can see I've changed the settings to rands when I've done my company profile setup, and press save. And the last thing you want to enable is what we call your appointments and your to-dos. Now, your appointments are going to be things like meetings, and your to-dos would be things like you've got to do, a follow-up call, etc. So go and set these things up. And if you select appointments as an example, it will give you the ability to go and set up the different appointments that you have. So you can see I've got meetings and meeting statuses. And under to-dos, it could be things like I've got to go and do a demo, a follow-up call, or a phone call. And it's literally as easy as always hitting that create button and giving you the ability to say, okay, well, what am I doing? So I want to do a demo, all right? And you can customize any of the fields that you have over here. You can select the fields that you want associated to the demo. So let's say we're happy with these, and then we move on to form layout. So this would be the form that your users complete after the actual demo is being done to mark the task as done. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we want to go through to your lead forms. So if we go through to basically either workflow over here, and you'll see there's manage forms, or we've got lead forms over here. So we're going to go through to forms quickly. Now, a form, just to explain this to you, is basically you creating an intelligent form to capture any leads information. So in this case, you could see I've set up one called document collection. So let's say as part of the insurance sale, the Shield sales users basically have to be prompted throughout the process, okay? So that there's no more guessing or steps that are missing in a process, but it enables me to set up a form where I want people to, what we call it, collect specific documentation. So in this case, I've set up a form called document collection. And if we go and have a look at live edit, here you'll see the form that I've created. But I just want to go back and show you how easy this is to do. So why is this important? You want to remove as much as the guesswork out from your staff as possible. So if you're hitting the create form button over here, LeadSquared is going to give you the ability to say, okay, well, what kind of fields do you want to use? In this case, I want to use, let's just call this FICA documents as an example, FICA documents collection. So in this case, I say lead fields, and I want to use activity fields because there's a combination of fields that I want here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this, let's have a look here, documents uploads, and I'm going to hit the next button. Now, in this case, I'm going to choose a primary form, all right? And I'm going to hit next. And I'm also just going to stick to using, for purposes of this training, a single step form. But a single step form is basically going to give you the ability to switch between tabs, all right? Whereas the multi-step form means that your users have to save each tab. Whereas single step, I can move from one tab to another without saving, okay? And here you can see the difference. I'm going to save the form after the final step. So when I say create, now what happens is it gives me the screen page to actually go and create. So think about this as your offer to purchase process, or somebody buying a car, taking out insurance. It's that whole process that you're now creating forms for. So what I'm going to do in this case is number one, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go and name my first tab. In my first tab, I'm going to say FICA documents as an example, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the section over here, and I want to go and add in fields. So over here, I've created a whole lot of fields. So let's say that I want people to be able to upload documents. I want my users to be able to add notes. And maybe I also want them to be able to put in the person's first name. So you're just going to drag and drop the fields that you want. And you can also move your forms, move things around if you want to do that. So once you've done that, I'm then going to just name my section and say FICA documents as an example. And once I've created my form, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say publish. When you press publish, this is now live and available for everybody in your business to see and use this process. Now, you'll notice that I've clicked on what we call the process, the process button. So when it comes to processes, this is now the actual FICA process that you are automating inside LeadSquared. So on this case, I'm going to say, right, where do I want this process to start? Well, I'm going to select at a specific work area. And when I do that, you'll see over here that what's really important is that what you want to start doing is defining, okay, when you're creating a process, defining when do you want it to start. So I want my process to start, number one, when the lead details are created, and I want documents uploads to be available over here. I also, on my lead grid, I'd want it to be available over here on web and mobile, lead identification pop up, and manage leads. I want it to be available over here as well. So you define exactly where you want the starting point to happen. So maybe when an insurance sale is done, I want it to be available over here as well. And I want it to be available on my smart views. And you press the save button. Now, what you're going to do over here is that when anybody starts working on a process from any one of these work areas I've just defined, I want to show a form. And I basically want to show my FICA documents collection form. And when somebody has uploaded that information, then I want to save that. And now what I've done is I've basically just built a FICA document collection process that is now available for my company to use, and I'm literally going to hit the publish button. That now makes my process live. Right, your process can go on and on and on, but just to give you a high level example today of how those processes work. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to head on to manage leads. Now this is the sales part of the system. So if we just scroll down here to the manage leads part of the system, this is what your lead grid is going to look like. And what's really important is that every single one of you can decide what you want to see in your lead grid. So what I mean by that, you see you've got headers here, lead score, lead stage, owner, etc. If you want to customize what you see on your grid, hit this button over here. You can say, show me all right? Now in this case, I don't want to see all. What I want to do is I basically want to see, in this case, let's go and have a look at, maybe we want to see the vehicle make and vehicle registration number, and we want to see the superhero name. So we're going to take the modified off. I want to see who the owners are. I want to see the lead stage, and I say show selected. So what you're looking at over here now is you will see that my grid changes. So every single one of you, doesn't matter if if you're all in the same organization, can you see I can now see my superhero name? I can also see the lead stage, and where people have got a vehicle make and registration number, I'll see that as well. Okay. Now, what's really important, if you want to open any one of the leads, you just click on the hyperlink over here and you open the lead. So what I want to show you quickly is that this is how you read a lead card. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'd have their contact information, their email address. And if you want to edit any of this based on your permissions, you just click on the little edit icon and you've got the ability to go and put this into the system over here. So you can go update their information, really straightforward, and hit the save button. Okay, on this side of the screen, you will see that you've got your full activity history. So if you, for example, want to load an activity, so let's say we go to activity over here, and we spoke about activities earlier, and let's say that this customer basically said they're interested in insurance. And what I'm going to do, remember we created these drop-down fields. It's not enough for me just to say interested in insurance. What are they interested in? So in this case, I'll be prompted to, I don't have to guess. They're interested in third-party insurance, and I press add. Now, all this activity that is managed will always be available for you on your activity history tab. Okay. So let's just refresh that quickly and select all our activity. Okay, and the next thing that I want to show you is that on the lead itself, if you guys want to add any notes, you literally just hit the little note button and you can add any notes here. If you want to attach specific files, maybe like proposals that you've done, etc., you've got the ability to go and upload that information into LeadSquared here. So all the documentation and everything that relates to this particular lead will be captured inside their actual lead file inside LeadSquared. And all of these things are then available for you to view at any moment in time on the activity. When you want to set up a reminder for a task, somewhere in the future, you're just going to hit the task button, and here you've got the ability to go and just select one of those tasks that you've already set up. So maybe I want to do a demo as we set up earlier. And in this case, we'll say that we want to enable a reminder so that I get a reminder on my mobile app and in my calendar, and all these tasks will send me reminders. Your sales activity, remember we set this up in the settings. So once again, if it is an open opportunity, and remember we went and added on product code 4, third-party insurance, and the order value is 400 Rand as an example. And the insurance value is 4,000 Rand, and I press save. It will also record all your sales activity, as you can see over there. Once again, you can also update any of this information that you want to at any given moment in time. And if you move across over here to lead actions, you've got the ability to allocate these leads to anybody else in your organization. So you can change the owner, change the stage, you can share it via email, you can add them to a list. So maybe I realize that this person is a part of a list that I created. From here, you've got the ability just to go and add them to a list as well. So very, very important that you just get a good understanding of how you can actually work with your leads itself, work with your leads themselves. Okay. So I want to stop there today on the leads, and basically tomorrow what I'd like to carry on with is finish showing you how to use some of the configurations inside LeadSquared so that we can get onto actually doing some of the marketing and sales execution training. So have you guys got any questions before I finish off this morning? Okay, the last thing I want to draw your attention quickly to is, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see that there's a button over here called Document Collection. Now, remember we created this form. I went into Process Designer and Manage Forms. Because I've created that, my staff will, if they click on Document Collection, you've got the ability over here. So remember, there's the form that we created, and I drag the field. So if I go and put in somebody's name and I click on Document Collection, I've now got the ability to go and upload my documents. So basically, I've built a process where my staff don't have to guess about what they should be doing next. So it gives you the ability to actually automate that entire process workflow that you want to implement throughout the organization. So just to recap for you guys today, we just covered a little bit around how to set up basic settings in LeadSquared. Remember, you can only do this if you are an administrator. We spoke about how to set up different permissions and templates. Okay, we've also set up processes and forms, and showed you how to import leads, how to create lists, and actually work through your leads themselves. So tomorrow we'll carry on with the second part of the configuration, and part 3 and 4 is going to be very much focused on marketing and using LeadSquared for sales. So I'm hoping that this morning's training added some value to you guys, and you're understanding a little bit more about the power that LeadSquared can offer you. And so from my side, I'd just like to thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully we'll have you back